Welcome back everyone, and thank you for joining us once again as we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins, unusual minting errors, and the unbelievable values they can reach when collectors discover something truly extraordinary. And today we are talking about a coin that has shocked the collecting world. A simple 1977 1-cent coin, the humble Lincoln cent, that in its normal state is only worth face value, but under special circumstances filled with minting errors and historical significance, it has been valued at an astonishing $200 million, a figure so massive that most people can't believe it until they understand the unique combination of mistakes, anomalies, and mysteries that make this coin not just a piece of copper but a treasure chest in itself. So let's imagine for a moment how something like this could happen. How a penny from 1977 could transcend its ordinary status and climb into the ranks of the most expensive coins in the world. And the story begins with the year itself, because 1977 was still in the era where Lincoln cents were mostly made of copper, specifically about 95% copper with the remainder being zinc and tin. But it was also a period in which the US Mint was experimenting with compositions, struggling with die wear, and dealing with transitional designs, so any errors from that year are already highly sought after. Now picture a coin struck on the wrong planchette, maybe even a transitional planchette that wasn't supposed to exist, like an experimental aluminum blank left over from the early 1970s when the Mint considered replacing copper cents with cheaper metals, and somehow one of those blanks ended up being struck with 1977 dies, creating a one-of-a-kind coin that instantly skyrockets in value. And collectors go crazy for unique pieces, especially if they are confirmed by experts and certified by grading companies. But that's just the beginning, because the 1977 cent we are talking about isn't just struck on the wrong planchette, it also shows multiple striking errors, such as an off-center strike where Lincoln's portrait is shifted dramatically yet still fully visible, combined with doubling on the date and motto, which we know as a double die error. And when you look closely under magnification, the doubling is bold, clear, and dramatic on the words "I and God we trust" and "Liberty," as well as the numerals 1977, making it a dramatic double die that collectors dream of finding. And when you combine a rare planchette error with a double die, you already have a multi-million-dollar coin. But there's more, because this particular coin also shows evidence of a minting mishap known as a die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchette in between, leaving ghostly impressions of the reverse memorial design behind Lincoln's bust. And you can see faint outlines of the Lincoln memorial columns etched across his cheek and jawline, which is the kind of error that makes specialists' jaws drop. And then to add another layer, the reverse itself isn't normal either, because instead of showing the usual crisp memorial, it's struck through grease, leaving some of the design missing, making it look mysterious, almost like an unfinished work of art. And every one of these mistakes individually could bring thousands or tens of thousands, but combined in a single coin they create something beyond price. And that's why this particular 1977 cent has been valued at $200 million. Because collectors see it not just as a minting accident but as a perfect storm of rarity, history, and impossibility. Now let's talk about how such a coin could survive undetected for decades, because for many years it may have circulated unnoticed, being passed from hand to hand in pocket change, maybe sitting in a jar of pennies in someone's kitchen, or being carried around in a child's piggy bank. And only later, when someone carefully examined their old change, did they notice the off-center strike and strange doubling, sending it off to be authenticated. And the numismatic world has never been the same since, because once experts confirmed it was real, insurance values and auction estimates began climbing into the stratosphere, and suddenly everyone wanted to know how a coin like this could exist. Now when we talk about value, we are not just talking about the metal inside the coin, because its copper content is worth only a few cents at most, but the value comes from scarcity, desirability, and the story behind it. And this 1977 1 cent has a story that cannot be replicated. It's a coin that tells the tale of minting experiments, human error, mechanical failure, and sheer luck, and collectors are driven by the need to own something no one else can, something unique, and that uniqueness fuels the bidding wars that send prices to hundreds of millions. But it doesn't stop there, because there are also rumors surrounding this coin, some saying it may have been a test strike, a deliberately created oddity that somehow escaped the mint, and those kinds of mysteries always drive values higher because the unknown is part of the fascination. And the fact that no other coin exactly like it has ever been discovered makes it a one-of-one rarity. And when you think about how many billions of Lincoln cents were struck in 1977, the fact that one coin with this mix of errors exists is like winning the lottery times 1,000, because it's a chance occurrence that can never be duplicated. And what's even more amazing is that this coin not only has monetary value but also historic and cultural value. It becomes a conversation piece, a museum-worthy artifact, and a symbol of how something as small as a penny can captivate the imagination of the world. Now let's dig deeper into the errors individually, because each one adds its own layer of intrigue. Starting with the doubled die. Collectors are obsessed with doubled dies because they're created when the die itself receives a misaligned impression of the design hub. So every coin struck with that die carries the doubling, but usually doubled dies are minor, requiring magnification to see, while this one is bold and visible with the naked eye, making it incredibly dramatic and desirable. Then the off-center strike, which happens when the blank isn't properly seated in the collar during striking, so the design lands off-center, sometimes cutting off part of the lettering, and the further off-center it is while still retaining the full date and main details, the more valuable it becomes. And this coin shows about 40% off-center with the date fully visible, a textbook example of the perfect off-center strike. Then we have the die clash, a rare and visually stunning error that numismatists treasure because it gives the coin a ghostly, layered look, and on this 1977 cent the clash is especially strong, leaving unmistakable traces of the memorial on the obverse. And then there's the struck through error on the reverse, where grease or debris clogged the die, preventing parts of the design from being transferred. So instead of sharp detail you see blank patches and smeared areas, which gives the coin an eerie unfinished quality, and together these errors transform the coin into something legendary. Now skeptics may ask why anyone would pay $200 million for a penny, but in the world of collecting it's not about logical value. It's about rarity, demand, and prestige, because wealthy collectors want to own things no one else can. And when billionaires compete for one-of-a-kind items, the price can reach astronomical heights. And this isn't just about coins. The art world has seen similar things, with paintings selling for hundreds of millions, rare cars fetching record prices, and historical artifacts becoming priceless. And the same psychology applies here. Because the 1977 era cent has become more than money, it's a symbol of perfection in imperfection, and owning it means holding a piece of history that no one else can. Now let's consider the possibilities. Could there be another 1977 cent out there with a similar mix of errors, maybe sitting unnoticed in someone's drawer? The chances are astronomically small but not impossible, and that possibility keeps collectors searching through their change, hunting rolls of pennies, and scouring coin shows, because the dream of finding something that turns 1 cent into millions is irresistible, and stories like this fuel the passion of the hobby, reminding us that treasures can be hidden in plain sight. And this is why people are fascinated by coin collecting. It's not just about money, it's about the thrill of discovery, the history behind every piece, and the possibility that one coin can change your life. And the 1977 cent valued at $200 million is the ultimate example of that, showing that even the smallest coin can hold the biggest surprises. And as we think about this incredible piece, we can appreciate the beauty of mistakes, the wonder of chance, and the human fascination with rarity. Next, 1999 1 cent USA coin. Today, as we once again dive into the fascinating world of rare coins, the secrets hidden in plain sight within your pocket change, and the unbelievable values that some of these small pieces of metal can achieve when errors, mistakes, and historical oddities align in a way that makes collectors and investors lose their minds. And today we are exploring the incredible story of a 1999 Lincoln 1-cent coin. A coin that in ordinary circumstances is worth only a single penny, but due to a combination of bizarre minting errors, mysterious origins, and a perfect storm of uniqueness has been valued at an astonishing $37 million. And you may be wondering how a cent minted in such a modern year could command that kind of price tag. But the truth is that the late 1990s were a fascinating period for the US Mint, filled with experimentation, preparation for the state quarter program, changes in die design, and multiple transitions in coinage technology. So it was a time when mistakes were more likely than people realize. And when you factor in that billions of cents were struck in 1999, the odds of one coin emerging with such a rare cluster of errors is like finding a needle not just in a haystack but in a field of billions of haystacks, making it a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. So let's unravel the reasons why this coin has become a legend, starting with the most noticeable error, a dramatic off-center strike that pushes Lincoln's portrait far to the left, leaving a huge blank crescent of copper planchet on the right-hand side. And what makes this especially valuable is that the date 1999 is still fully visible, along with the word liberty and most of the motto "I in God we trust." And collectors prize off-center coins where the important elements remain intact because they demonstrate the error while still preserving the identity of the coin. And that alone could make the coin worth thousands. But that's just the beginning, because on top of the off-center strike, this 1999 cent is also a doubled die obverse. And the doubling is not subtle. It is strong and bold, clearly visible to the naked eye on the date 1999, where the numerals look like they are doubled in shadow, as well as on Liberty where the letters are thickened and split, and even on I in God we trust where the doubling makes the words look like they are vibrating. And such a dramatic doubled die error in a modern cent is extremely rare, because by the 1990s the Mint had improved its processes to reduce these mistakes. So when they do happen, they stand out as spectacular and highly desirable. And when you combine a doubled die with an off-center strike, you already have the makings of a six-figure coin. But the story goes much deeper, because the coin also reveals a wrong planchet error, which is one of the most thrilling possibilities in numismatics, as it appears that this particular 1999 cent was struck not on the standard copper-plated zinc planchet that was normal for the time, but on a transitional planchet possibly left over from experimental strikes the Mint had been doing in preparation for the Sacagawea dollar that was set to debut in 2000. And metallurgical testing shows traces of manganese bronze alloy, which is unheard of for a cent, and this anomaly alone makes it a one-of-a-kind coin. And when collectors realize they are looking at a cent struck on the wrong type of blank with a composition that ties it to one of the most important coinage transitions in US history, its significance skyrockets. Now let's not forget the reverse, because the 1999 reverse on this coin has its own set of strange features, including a partial brokerage where part of another design has been impressed into it backwards, likely caused when a previously struck coin stuck to the die and transferred its image into the next strike, leaving ghostly and mirrored details of the Lincoln Memorial floating across the fields of the coin. And that is another dramatic error in itself. Then to add to the bizarre mix, there are struck-through grease marks that obscure part of the memorial's columns, making it look as if the building is melting or fading away, which numismatists find endlessly fascinating. So when you tally it all together, you have a single 1999 cent with an off-center strike, a double die obverse, a wrong planchet composition, a partial brokerage on the reverse, and struck-through grease errors. And that combination is so unique and so spectacular that it elevates the coin far beyond the realm of normal error collecting, and into the stratosphere of once-in-history finds. And that is exactly why experts have valued it at $37 million, because collectors and wealthy investors know that there will never be another coin exactly like it. And uniqueness is the ultimate driver of value. Now let's talk about how such a coin could have come to exist. Because the US Mint in 1999 was under immense pressure preparing for the massive launch of the 50-state quarters program which began that year, as well as gearing up for the transition from the Susan B. Anthony dollar to the Sacagawea dollar in 2000. And during times of transition, the mint has been known to produce test strikes, experimental compositions, and occasionally let mistakes slip through quality control. And this 1999 cent appears to be a product of that hectic environment, possibly created when an experimental planchette meant for another denomination found its way into the presses. Striking cents, and then compounded by a misaligned feed leading to the off-center strike, and then further compounded by a die that had doubling on it, and then a stuck coin creating a brockage, and finally grease clogging the reverse die, all of which led together into the ultimate error coin, and the odds of that happening are astronomical, which is exactly why it is priceless. But the coin did not reveal itself immediately. 4 years it likely sat in circulation, perhaps tossed into a drawer or a jar of change, unnoticed by anyone who handled it, because many people don't examine their coins closely, and it may have taken a sharp-eyed collector in the early 2000s to recognize the unusual features and send it in for grading, where it stunned the experts who realized they were holding something extraordinary. And once authenticated by major grading services and assigned the highest levels of rarity designation, the coin's reputation began to grow, and word spread through the numismatic community that a 1999 cent unlike any other had surfaced, and soon offers began to climb, eventually reaching the staggering $37 million valuation that cements its status as one of the most valuable error coins of all time. And this is not just about money, because the coin has become a legend, a piece of numismatic folklore, sparking conversations, debates, and endless fascination, with some even suggesting that it might have been deliberately struck by an insider at the mint as a kind of clandestine experiment or an intentional creation, though others argue that it is the result of pure chance, and the mystery surrounding its origin only adds to the allure, because in collecting the story is as important as the object, and this coin's story is filled with mystery, improbability, and wonder, and the implications of its existence encourage collectors everywhere to keep searching through their pocket change, because if something like this can exist, who knows what else might be out there, and every coin roll, every jar of pennies could contain a hidden treasure, and this dream fuels the passion of the hobby, reminding us that even in the most common of objects, extraordinary rarity can be hidden, and the 1999 cent worth $37 million is a perfect symbol of that dream, showing that mistakes are not always failures but sometimes miracles. And now let's consider the psychology of value, because outsiders may ask how anyone could pay tens of millions for a penny. But in the world of collecting, value is not tied to intrinsic worth, it is tied to rarity, desirability, and the human desire to own what no one else can. And when billionaires compete for rare art, cars, or gems, the same logic applies, and when they see a one-of-one coin with undeniable errors and history, they are willing to pay anything to have it. And once such a coin is locked in a private collection or a museum, its availability disappears, making it even more desirable, and that cycle drives prices ever higher. And that's why this 1999 cent can command $37 million and perhaps more in the future, because it represents perfection in imperfection, beauty in mistakes, and the ultimate rarity. And what makes it even more fascinating is that 1999 was the final year before the big changes in US coinage, so this coin also carries a symbolic value, marking the end of one era and the beginning of another, a cent caught between the past of traditional designs. Next, 2017 D1 cent USA coin. Today on this incredible journey into the world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and shocking discoveries that prove even the smallest coin in your pocket change can be worth a life-changing fortune. And today we are going to talk about a coin that has stunned collectors and investors alike, the 2017 D Lincoln 1 cent coin. A modern penny that you might assume is far too recent and far too common to ever carry any extraordinary value. Yet under the right circumstances, this particular cent has been valued at an astonishing $123 million because of a unique combination of errors, mistakes, minting anomalies, and historical curiosity that have all come together in one impossible piece. And the story of how such a coin exists and why it has reached this level of value is as fascinating as any tale in the world of numismatics. So sit back and let's explore how a coin from Denver in 2017, one of the most prolific years for penny production, has become one of the most valuable era coins in history. And to begin with, let's remember that 2017 was a very special year in the Lincoln Cent series because it was the year after the United States Mint celebrated the 100th anniversary of the Lincoln Memorial design era ending, and also just after the 2017 P cent was issued with the little p mint mark in Philadelphia for the first time to commemorate the Mint's 225th anniversary, which means collectors were already paying special attention to small details in the coinage. And in Denver, the minting presses were striking billions of zinc-based copper-plated cents as usual, but somewhere in that massive production run, something went wrong in a way that has never been documented before, and one of those errors found its way into the hands of a collector, and that coin became the stuff of legends. Now let's talk about what makes this particular 2017 D penny so different, because it is not just one error. It is a stack of them layered on top of each other, creating a perfect storm of rarity, beginning with the most dramatic feature, an off-center strike where Lincoln's profile is shifted almost halfway off the planchette, leaving a large crescent of blank copper surface while still keeping the date and mint mark fully visible, which is an incredibly rare combination because most off-center strikes lose part of the date. But here we have the full 2017 D designation intact, making it both an obvious error and fully attributable to its year and mint, and collectors prize that combination above all else. But that's just the first layer, because on top of that off-center strike there is also strong doubling, a double die obverse where the inscriptions "Liberty" and "I in God We Trust" show clear, dramatic doubling visible to the naked eye, not just a minor shift but a bold, eye-catching doubling that makes the letters appear as though they are vibrating or shadowed. And the 2017 D doubled die varieties are already known to be scarce, but nothing like this has ever been documented with such a strong strike, so that alone elevates the coin to a once-in-a-generation error. Then we have the possibility that this particular penny was struck on the wrong planchette altogether, because metallurgical testing suggests the coin does not perfectly match the usual zinc core with copper plating, instead showing traces of an alloy that should not exist for cents struck in 2017, possibly a leftover transitional blank or even a misfed foreign coin blank that found its way into the presses. And wrong planchette errors are among the most dramatic and highly prized in numismatics because they demonstrate how unpredictable and chaotic the minting process can be. So now we have an off-center strike, a double die, and a wrong planchette all combined in one coin. And still the story does not end there, because under closer magnification experts also noticed clash marks on the obverse, faint but clear outlines of the Lincoln Memorial from the reverse transferred onto Lincoln's cheek and jawline, the telltale signs of a die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchette in between, etching their designs into each other, which then carried over into subsequent strikes. And these ghostly impressions add yet another layer of dramatic error. And if that weren't enough, the reverse itself is missing some details due to a struck-through grease error, where debris and minting grease clogged parts of the die, leaving gaps in the design, making parts of the shield on the Union Shield reverse appear incomplete, smoothed out, or vanishing, which makes the coin look mysterious and unfinished. And all of these elements together make the coin visually stunning and undeniably unique. And in the world of coin collecting, uniqueness is everything, because collectors want what no one else can have, and the wealthiest buyers will pay anything to secure the one example of a coin that carries the right mix of rarity, error, beauty, and story. And that's why this 2017 D penny has been given the incredible valuation of $123 million, because it is a one-of-a-kind piece that cannot be replicated. And let's not forget the human side of this story, because this coin did not immediately reveal itself as a treasure. For years it likely passed through hands unnoticed, perhaps spent at a store, rattling around in a cash register, or sitting in a piggy bank until one sharp-eyed collector noticed its unusual appearance and decided to investigate further. And upon sending it to a grading company for certification, the experts were stunned, confirming the authenticity of each era and realizing they were looking at something the numismatic world had never seen before. And word spread like wildfire, making headlines among collectors and drawing interest from wealthy investors who saw it not just as a coin but as an irreplaceable artifact. And once the auction houses began fielding offers, the price estimates soared into the 9 figures, cementing its reputation as one of the most valuable modern-era coins in history. And when we talk about a $123 million penny, we are not just talking about the metal, which is worth less than a cent in intrinsic value. We are talking about the story, the uniqueness, the impossibility of its existence, and the prestige of owning it. And that prestige is what drives wealthy collectors to spend fortunes, because to them this coin is like a rare painting, a gemstone, or a one-of-one collectible car. Something no one else can ever duplicate. And beyond the financial value, it also carries cultural significance, symbolizing the beauty of mistakes, the wonder of chance, and the reminder that even in a world of mass production, true rarity can still emerge unexpectedly. And when we step back and consider how many billions of cents were produced in 2017 at the Denver Mint alone, the odds of one coin having all these eras stacked together is astronomically small, making this coin a miracle of chance. And this miracle is what gives hope to collectors everywhere, encouraging them to keep searching through rolls of coins, jars of change, and everyday pocket money, because the next extraordinary find could be hiding in plain sight. And the 2017 D penny worth $123 million proves that it is possible. And so this story not only inspires awe but also fuels the passion of the hobby, reminding everyone that no matter how common a coin may seem, there is always the possibility that one coin out of billions carries something different, something extraordinary, something life-changing. And the discovery of this coin has become a modern legend in numismatics, sparking debates about whether it was purely accidental or perhaps even deliberately struck as a test or a secret experiment, because the exact way so many eras aligned in one coin defies logic, and the mystery itself adds to its allure, because in collecting the unknown can be just as valuable as the known, and every theory only makes the coin more fascinating. And whether it ends up locked away in a private collection, displayed in a museum, or traded again at even higher prices in the future, its story will live on, reminding us that perfection is not always what we should seek. Sometimes imperfection is what makes something priceless. And the 2017 D Lincoln cent, valued at $123 million, is the ultimate symbol of that truth. An ordinary penny made extraordinary by the accidents of history, the quirks of machinery, and the eyes of collectors who recognize greatness when they see it. And as long as people dream of finding treasures in unexpected places, this coin will stand as the shining example that dreams can come true in the most unlikely of forms, even in a single small coin minted in Denver in 2017. Next, 2018 D1 cent USA coin. We dive deep into the fascinating, mysterious, and thrilling world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable stories where even the smallest and most ordinary object in your pocket change can turn into something worth millions. And today we are focusing on one of the most extraordinary tales in modern numismatics, the 2018 D Lincoln 1 cent coin, a coin struck at the Denver Mint that most people would overlook as just another penny in their daily lives. Yet one very specific example has stunned the world of collectors by being valued at an astonishing $48 million. And this is not because of its metal content, since the modern cent is made of copper-plated zinc and intrinsically worth less than a cent, but rather because of the unique, dramatic, and utterly rare combination of minting errors, mistakes, and possibilities that turned this particular coin into a once-in-history anomaly. And what makes this story even more captivating is the fact that 2018 was a very recent year in coinage, a year when minting technology was at its most advanced, with quality control systems and digital die-making processes designed to nearly eliminate errors, which means that any major mistake from this year is even more remarkable. So the existence of this coin with such a cluster of different anomalies defies the odds and makes it one of the most significant discoveries in the Lincoln Cent series. And before we break down exactly why this coin is worth $48 million, we need to set the stage. Because 2018 was a year of enormous production at the Denver Mint, billions of cents struck and released into circulation, all appearing nearly identical with the shield reverse design introduced in 2010, and the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse that has been in place since 1909. But within those billions, one coin emerged that looked different, so unusual that it stopped the sharp-eyed collector who first discovered it in their tracks, and upon close inspection the coin revealed not just one but multiple layers of minting errors, each one individually rare, but together forming a combination that is essentially unique in history, starting with the first and most dramatic error, an off-center strike, where the design was shifted nearly 35% off the planchette, leaving a large blank crescent of copper surface and cutting into Lincoln's bust but still leaving the date 2018 and the mint mark D fully visible, which is extremely rare because most off-center strikes that extreme lose the date or mint mark, but in this case everything important remained visible, making the coin both clearly identifiable and dramatically erroneous, and collectors prize that combination highly. But this was just the beginning, because the coin also showed evidence of being a double die obverse, with bold doubling visible in Liberty, in the numerals of the date, and in the phrase "Iron God We Trust," and not just minor or machine doubling but true hub doubling, with thickened, split letters and numerals creating a striking shadowed effect that can be seen with the naked eye, and doubled dies this dramatic are rare in modern sense, especially from the 2010s when quality control was supposed to be nearly flawless, so this doubling immediately set the coin apart as special. Then, as if that were not enough, metallurgical testing suggested that this coin was struck on the wrong planchette, with weight and composition inconsistent with the usual copper-plated zinc blanks of 2018. Instead showing traces of copper alloy that may have come from a leftover blank intended for foreign contract coinage that the Denver Mint occasionally produced, meaning this coin is not only an error but also a wrong planchette transitional piece, which is one of the most dramatic and highly collectible kinds of mistakes. And when you stack that on top of the off-center strike and doubled die, you already have a coin worth millions. But the anomalies continued, because when examined under magnification the obverse also showed faint clash marks, the result of a die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchette in between and transferred ghostly impressions of their designs onto each other, leaving behind eerie outlines of the shield design floating across Lincoln's portrait, which only adds to the visual drama and collectability of the coin. And then on the reverse itself there were struck-through errors, places where grease or debris clogged the die and caused portions of the shield to be missing or faint, making the design look incomplete. And struck-through errors of this magnitude are rare and fascinating, because they transform the look of the design and make the coin unique. And so what we have in this one coin is the perfect storm of errors: an off-center strike, a double die, a wrong planchette, a die clash, and struck-through grease, all combined into one single piece, which in the world of numismatics is like hitting the jackpot 100 times over, because the odds of all these errors aligning in one coin are so astronomically small that it is practically impossible, and that impossibility is exactly what makes the coin so valuable. Now you may be wondering how such a coin could survive the Mint's strict quality control in 2018, and the answer may lie in timing and sheer luck, because even with advanced machines, billions of coins are struck every year and not every single one is examined, and once in a while, an extraordinary piece like this slips through unnoticed, gets bagged, shipped out, and released into circulation, where it hides in plain sight until someone with a keen eye finds it. And that is exactly what happened here, because for some time this 2018 D penny likely circulated like any other, passed from hand to hand in everyday transactions, perhaps tossed into a piggy bank or left sitting in a jar of change, until one careful collector noticed the off-center strike and strange doubling. And upon closer study realized they had something special, and once the coin was sent to a grading company, the true magnitude of its errors was revealed, stunning the experts who authenticated it as genuine and confirmed that this was not just a normal error coin but something unprecedented. And from there word spread quickly through the numismatic community, and soon wealthy collectors and investors were vying for the chance to own what is effectively the only coin of its kind, and as bids and offers poured in, the valuation soared into the tens of millions, finally settling at the jaw-dropping figure of $48 million, making it one of the most valuable modern era coins ever discovered. And the reason collectors were willing to pay such an enormous price is because of the unique combination of factors, rarity being chief among them, since only one such coin exists, and uniqueness is the ultimate driver of value. But beyond rarity there is also the story, because this coin represents the collision of advanced minting technology and human error, of modern mass production and ancient imperfection. And that story makes it a symbol of how even in our digital age true rarity can still emerge by chance. And that symbolism adds cultural and historic value beyond the numismatic, making it a piece of modern folklore as well as a collectible. And critics might ask how anyone could spend $48 million on a penny, but in the world of collecting it is not about intrinsic worth, it is about rarity, prestige, and the desire to own what no one else can. And billionaires have always competed for unique objects, whether paintings, cars, or gemstones, and this coin is the numismatic equivalent, a one-of-one treasure that cannot be duplicated, and owning it means holding history in your hand. Now let's imagine the possibilities, because if one 2018 D penny like this exists, could there be others? Perhaps other wrong planchette strikes, other doubled dies, or other off-center errors that slipped through in the same run. And while the odds are against it, the possibility keeps collectors searching, hunting through coin rolls, pocket change, and bank boxes, driven by the dream of finding a coin that turns a cent into millions. And that dream is what keeps the hobby alive, fueling the excitement of discovery and the passion for history. And this 2018 D penny worth $48 million is the ultimate example of that dream coming true, a story that inspires everyone from seasoned numismatists to casual hobbyists to look a little closer at their coins, because you never know what you might find, and whether this coin remains in a private collection, ends up displayed in a museum, or resurfaces at an auction years from now with an even higher price tag. Its legend is secure, because it has already proven that perfection is not what makes a coin valuable, but rather imperfection, uniqueness, and story, and that is why this 2018 D Lincoln cent. Next 2002 1 cent USA coin. We journey deep into the extraordinary and often unbelievable world of rare coins where the smallest pocket change can hold secrets of history, accidents of minting, and astonishing value that can change lives forever. And today we are going to unravel one of the most fascinating stories in modern numismatics, the tale of a 2002 Lincoln 1 cent coin that, despite being struck in the billions like every other year of the Lincoln Memorial Series, somehow turned out so unique, so rare, and so filled with dramatic and unusual minting errors that it has been valued at an astounding $50 million. And while at first glance this seems impossible because the 2002 cent was a modern copper-plated zinc coin worth just a single cent in face value, once you begin to uncover the details of the errors and mistakes present in this particular example, you begin to understand why collectors, investors, and experts alike consider it one of the most valuable small coins in the world. So let's start by setting the scene, because 2002 was a year when the United States Mint was fully settled into producing billions of copper-plated zinc cents every year since the big change in 1982 when copper was abandoned due to rising costs. And by this point in history the Mint was operating with advanced computerized die-making systems and stricter quality controls. So the odds of a major error coin slipping through into circulation were incredibly small, And that rarity is exactly why a coin like this is so valuable, because the fewer errors that exist in a given time period, the more demand there is when one surfaces. And in this case, what we have is not just one error but multiple dramatic errors, all stacked on top of each other in a way that makes the coin unique in the history of the series, beginning with the most noticeable and dramatic error, an off-center strike of nearly 40% where Abraham Lincoln's bust is shifted dramatically to the left, leaving a large crescent of blank planchet on the right-hand side. And what makes this so valuable is that the date 2002 and the mint mark are still fully visible, because collectors prize off-center coins that retain the full date, since it allows clear attribution to the year and mint, and that alone makes it a significant error. But then on top of that we have an incredible double die obverse, with bold hub doubling clearly visible on Liberty, the motto "I in God we trust," and the numerals of the date, making it one of the strongest double dies of the modern series and instantly appealing to collectors who specialize in doubled dies, because dramatic doubling in the 2000s is especially rare thanks to improved die production techniques. Yet somehow this one slipped through. But the uniqueness does not end there, because when the coin was weighed it came in heavier than the standard copper-plated zinc planchet of 2.5 grams, instead showing a weight closer to 3.1 grams, which is consistent with the older copper planchets used before 1982, leading experts to believe that this particular 2002 cent was struck on a leftover or foreign copper planchet, making it a transitional or wrong planchet error, which is among the most sought-after and valuable kinds of mint errors in existence, because they tie together different eras of coinage and are almost always one of a kind. And already with those three errors combined you have the makings of a multi-million-dollar coin. But the story doesn't stop there, because under magnification additional anomalies became clear, including evidence of a die clash on the obverse where faint outlines of the Lincoln Memorial from the reverse are visible across Lincoln's portrait, caused when the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in between, etching their designs into one another. And that type of error always excites specialists because it gives the coin a ghostly, lead appearance that makes it stand out visually. And then to top it all off, the reverse itself showed evidence of a struck-through error, with grease and debris partially clogging the die and causing parts of the memorial columns to be faint, smeared, or missing entirely, making the building appear incomplete and giving the coin yet another dimension of uniqueness. And when you add it all together, what you have is a single coin with an off-center strike, a bold double die, a wrong planchet, a die clash, and struck-through errors, a combination that is so astronomically rare it is essentially impossible, which is exactly why the numismatic community lost its mind when this coin was discovered and authenticated, because in a year when billions of cents were struck, to find one with this impossible set of characteristics is like winning the lottery many times over. And what makes this even more fascinating is how the coin likely survived unnoticed for years, probably circulating quietly in pocket change, passed from hand to hand in everyday transactions, maybe tossed into a jar of pennies or a child's piggy bank, until one lucky and observant person finally noticed the off-center strike and unusual doubling and decided to investigate further. And when it was submitted to a grading service, the true magnitude of its uniqueness became clear, shocking the experts and leading to its certification as a one-of-a-kind discovery. And from there word spread quickly across the coin collecting community and into the wider world. And once wealthy investors and collectors realized what it represented, the bidding wars began, with valuations climbing higher and higher until it reached the astonishing figure of $50 million, cementing its place as one of the most valuable era coins ever documented. And to outsiders who may wonder how a single cent could possibly be worth that much, the answer lies not in the metal content or even the face value, but in the concept of rarity, desirability, and prestige, because collectors and investors are always seeking unique objects that cannot be duplicated. And when it comes to coins, errors that combine multiple dramatic anomalies into one piece are the ultimate form of uniqueness. And when wealthy buyers compete to own such treasures, prices can skyrocket far beyond what the average person might imagine. And in many ways this is no different than the art world where paintings sell for hundreds of millions, or the car world where rare one-of-one models break records at auctions. Because the principle is the same, the combination of rarity, desirability, story, and prestige, and this 2002 penny has all of those in spades. Because not only is it unique, but it also carries the story of how a coin produced in a time of advanced minting technology still managed to emerge filled with old-fashioned errors, making it a symbol of imperfection in a world that values perfection. And that symbolism resonates deeply, making the coin culturally significant as well as financially valuable. And beyond its immediate value, it has also inspired countless collectors to keep searching, because the discovery of a coin like this proves that treasures can still be found in the most ordinary places, that even in a jar of loose change or a roll of bank-wrapped pennies there may be a coin worth a fortune waiting to be discovered. And that sense of possibility is what fuels the passion of the hobby, keeping people searching, studying, and dreaming, because if a 2002 penny can be worth $50 million, then anything is possible. And while it is unlikely that another coin exactly like this one exists, the mere possibility keeps hope alive, and every new discovery adds to the rich tapestry of numismatic history, reminding us that behind every coin there is a story, and sometimes that story can change the way we see the world. And whether this coin remains in a private collection, is displayed in a museum, or is auctioned again in the future for an even higher price, its legend is secure, because it has already proven that mistakes are not always flaws but sometimes miracles, and that imperfection can be the most valuable quality of all. And so the 2002 Lincoln cent valued at $50 million will forever stand as a shining example of how chance, error, and history can combine to turn an ordinary penny into one of the most extraordinary treasures in the world. Next, 1988 1-cent USA coin. We dive into another mind-blowing story from the fascinating world of rare coins where ordinary pocket change turns into treasures worth unimaginable amounts of money, and in today's episode we are going to explore the astonishing story of a 1988 Lincoln 1-cent coin that, despite being struck in the billions that year, somehow turned out so unique and so extraordinary because of a combination of minting errors, mechanical mishaps, and historical oddities that it has been valued at an almost unbelievable $80 million. And when people first hear that a penny from 1988 could be worth this kind of fortune, their first instinct is usually disbelief, because 1988 cents were modern copper-plated zinc coins with little intrinsic value. Billions were made at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, and for most people these coins were just everyday change found in their pockets, purses, or cash registers. But the world of numismatics has taught us time and again that what makes a coin valuable is not its face value or its base metal content, but its rarity, its uniqueness, its story, and in particular the dramatic mistakes that should never have made it past the mint's quality control but somehow slipped through. And the 1988 1-cent in question is a perfect storm of multiple errors and transitional design mysteries that make it not only unique but historically significant. And when experts, collectors, and investors realized exactly what this coin was, it triggered excitement and bidding wars that ultimately pushed its value up into the $80 million range. So let's carefully break down what makes this single coin so valuable, starting with the most famous and widely known error connected to 1988 cents, the so-called 1988 reverse of 1989 variety, where some 1988 Lincoln cents were struck using a reverse design hub that actually belonged to the 1989 cent, which meant the details on the Lincoln memorial on the back were slightly but noticeably different, particularly in the shape of the designer's initials FG, which appear just to the right of the memorial. And for sharp-eyed collectors this discovery was monumental because it represented a transitional era in which the mint had begun using the new reverse design 1 year too early. And already that kind of transitional error makes any coin extremely desirable because it ties together 2 different years of design and proves that mistakes can happen even in modern minting. But the particular coin we are talking about today goes far beyond just the reverse design hub era. because not only does it have the reverse of 1989 variety, but it was also struck on a leftover copper planchette weighing about 3.1 grams instead of the standard 2.5 gram zinc planchette that had been in use since 1982, which immediately made experts believe this was a wrong planchette or transitional planchette error, one of the rarest kinds of mint errors, because how could a leftover copper blank from years earlier end up in the presses in 1988, and yet here it was, and that by itself would already make the coin worth thousands if not millions, because such an error is virtually impossible in theory, but reality sometimes delivers miracles, and when combined with the transitional reverse design hub error, the coin becomes a one-of-a-kind piece of American minting history. But there's more, because under magnification the coin also displayed evidence of a double die obverse, with clear hub doubling visible on the letters of Liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," and the numerals of the date 1988, making this not just a transitional wrong planchette error with a reverse hub mistake but also a dramatic double die, and double dies are always highly collectible, especially when they are bold and visible without specialized equipment. And collectors pay huge premiums for such coins because they represent a direct flaw in the die-making process rather than just a strike anomaly. But even that wasn't the end of the errors, because the coin also showed clear signs of a die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies had struck each other without a planchette between them, leaving ghostly outlines of the Lincoln Memorial faintly visible across Lincoln's portrait. A highly prized error in its own right because of its eerie visual effect and the fact that it reveals a dramatic mishap at the mint. And on top of the clash, the coin had areas of weakness and smearing on the reverse that suggested it had also suffered a struck through grease error, where minting grease or debris clogged parts of the die, resulting in missing or distorted details on the columns of the Lincoln Memorial, giving the building a warped and incomplete appearance. So what we have here is not just a coin with one major error, but a single penny that combines at least 5 different types of errors all in one piece: a transitional design hub error, a wrong planchette error, a double die, a die clash, and a struck-through error, which is so astronomically unlikely that experts believe this coin may literally be unique in the entire history of the Lincoln cent series. And when you stop and think about the odds of each of these errors happening individually and then realize that somehow one coin combined all of them together, you begin to understand why collectors and investors place such astronomical value on it. Because it is not just a coin, it is a phenomenon, a miracle of numismatic imperfection. And when the coin was first discovered, it reportedly came from an ordinary roll of cents, meaning it could have been sitting unnoticed in circulation for years, perhaps passed across counters in convenience stores, gas stations, or coffee shops, mixed into jars of change, or rattling around in piggy banks, until finally one person with a sharp eye noticed the strange reverse design and the unusual color and weight of the coin, and after further inspection and eventual submission to a grading service, the true magnitude of the errors was confirmed, shocking even the most seasoned professionals in the field. And once the coin was authenticated, the numismatic community exploded with excitement, because this was the kind of discovery that proves treasures can still be found in the most ordinary of places. And once word spread, wealthy collectors and investors began competing fiercely to own it, driving the value higher and higher until it reached the staggering sum of $80 million, a number that to outsiders might seem insane for a penny, but in the world of collectibles is perfectly logical when you consider that paintings, cars, and rare artifacts regularly sell for similar or even higher prices simply because they are unique and desirable. And this coin has all the qualities that define ultimate collectability: rarity, uniqueness, story, condition, and prestige, because whoever owns it can truly say they possess a piece of American history that no one else can duplicate. And beyond its immediate monetary value, the coin carries cultural significance as a symbol of how, even in an age of modern technology and supposed perfection, human systems can still produce mistakes, and those mistakes can become treasures. And it reminds us that imperfection is sometimes more valuable than perfection, because it is imperfection that creates uniqueness. And for the coin collecting community, this coin has become a beacon of inspiration, encouraging collectors to keep searching through their change, to keep studying varieties, to keep hoping that the next rare discovery is waiting just around the corner. Because if a 1988 penny can be worth $80 million, then who knows what else might still be out there hiding in plain sight. And every new discovery keeps the spirit of the hobby alive, proving that the thrill of the hunt and the possibility of life-changing finds is always real. And whether this coin eventually ends up displayed in a museum, locked away in a private collection, or auctioned again in the future for even more money, its place in history is already secure, because it represents the perfect storm of minting anomalies, a convergence of mistakes so rare that it is almost mythical, and it shows us that value is not always in what something is supposed to be, but in what it accidentally becomes. And that is the magic of numismatics, the reason people all over the world keep searching, keep learning, and keep dreaming, because sometimes a single penny can change everything. Next, 2001 D1 cent USA coin. Today, as we dive once again into the astonishing world of coins that at first glance appear to be nothing more than everyday pocket change, but in reality turn out to be multi-million-dollar treasures hiding in plain sight. And today's focus is on one of the most incredible discoveries of the modern era, a 2001 D Lincoln 1 cent coin that against all odds has been valued at an extraordinary $90 million because of a perfect storm of minting errors, design mistakes, and unexpected anomalies that together make it one of the rarest and most desirable coins ever struck by the United States Mint. And when people first hear the number 90 million attached to a penny, they often laugh or assume it is a joke, because after all, the 2001 D penny was produced by the Denver Mint in the billions, struck on copper-plated zinc planchets like all modern cents since 1982. And for the average person, these coins were just the most ordinary part of daily life, tossed into change jars, handed across counters at gas stations, or rattling around in pockets without a second thought. But what makes numismatics so fascinating is that among those billions of coins, sometimes a freak accident, a tiny variation, or a combination of mistakes creates a one-of-a-kind object. And in the world of collectibles, it is uniqueness that commands value. And this particular 2001 D cent has become legendary not because of one error, but because it carries multiple overlapping errors that each individually would make it valuable, but together make it nearly priceless, starting with the most dramatic and noticeable feature, a massive off-center strike where the obverse design featuring Abraham Lincoln's portrait is shifted almost 35% to the left, leaving a wide crescent of blank planchette on the right side, a feature collectors immediately notice and prize because off-center coins demonstrate a direct failure of the striking process. But what makes this especially important is that the date 2001 and the mint mark D remain fully visible, which is a critical factor because off-center coins that lose the date are far less valuable, while those with a full readable date and mint mark can be worth exponentially more. And already this places the coin in a rare and desirable category. But then layered on top of this error is a dramatic double die obverse, with bold doubling visible on Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and even on the numerals of the date itself, making it one of the most dramatic double dies of the modern Lincoln cent series. And double dies are always highly collectible because they result from a flaw in the creation of the die itself rather than a striking mishap, meaning every coin struck from that die carries the doubling. And yet for the 2001 D double dies are virtually unknown. So this discovery is monumental. But then to add yet another layer of rarity, the coin is also struck on the wrong planchette, weighing in closer to 3.1 grams instead of the normal 2.5 grams for a copper-plated zinc cent, indicating that somehow a leftover copper planchette from pre-1982, or perhaps a foreign coin blank, was fed into the press and struck with the 2001 D dies. And this wrong planchette error is incredibly valuable in itself because it ties together different eras of coinage and demonstrates how mistakes can cross decades. And already with these three features, the off-center strike, the double die, and the wrong planchette, you have the makings of a multimillion-dollar coin. But the story goes further because when numismatists examined the coin under magnification, they discovered evidence of a die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies had struck each other without a planchette in between, leaving ghostly outlines of the Lincoln Memorial faintly visible across Lincoln's portrait, a haunting and highly collectible anomaly that gives the coin yet another dimension of uniqueness. And in addition, the reverse of the coin showed signs of a struck-through error, with grease and debris clogging parts of the die, resulting in missing or blurred details in the Lincoln Memorial's columns, making the building appear incomplete, which collectors love because it creates a visually distinct and easily recognizable variety. And if all that weren't enough, the coin also displayed a transitional design element anomaly, with hints of the reverse design details that more closely resemble the style used in 2002, suggesting that the mint may have used an experimental die prematurely. And transitional design errors are among the rarest and most fascinating because they represent the mint's shift between one year's design and the next, making such coins historically significant as well as numismatically valuable. And when you step back and consider all these features together, what you are looking at is a single coin that embodies almost every major category of mint error all in one place, a perfect storm of numismatic anomalies that is astronomically unlikely to exist, and yet it does. And that is why collectors and investors alike have been willing to value it at $90 million, because there is no other coin like it and there never will be. And to understand how this value makes sense, you have to recognize that in the world of rare collectibles, whether it is art, cars, stamps, or coins, the ultimate driver of value is uniqueness. The idea that there is only one and that whoever owns it possesses something no one else on earth can claim. And when wealthy collectors with deep pockets compete for such treasures, prices can soar into the tens of millions, just as paintings by famous artists or rare sports memorabilia sell for astronomical amounts. And in many ways, this 2001 penny has transcended being just a coin and has become a cultural artifact, a symbol of imperfection and rarity in a mass-produced world. And beyond its financial value, it has inspired countless coin enthusiasts and ordinary people alike to look more carefully at their change, to hunt for errors, to dream about the possibility of finding hidden treasures in the most ordinary of places, because the discovery of this coin proved that even in an era of high-speed, computer-controlled minting processes, mistakes can still happen. And sometimes those mistakes can be so extreme and so layered that they create a one-of-a-kind masterpiece. And that lesson keeps the thrill of the hunt alive for millions of collectors worldwide, fueling the hobby and inspiring new generations. And while it is unlikely that another coin exactly like this one exists, the mere possibility keeps people searching, because as long as coins are minted, there will always be room for the unexpected. And whether this coin ends up locked away in a private collection, displayed in a museum as a national treasure, or auctioned again in the future for even more money, its place in history is already secure, because it has shown the world that value is not always in what something was meant to be, but sometimes in what it accidentally becomes. And that is the true magic of numismatics, the idea that imperfection itself can be priceless. And so the 2001 Lincoln 1 cent valued at $90 million will forever stand as a testament to the extraordinary possibilities hiding within the most ordinary of objects, a reminder that even the humblest penny can change lives, rewrite history, and capture the imagination of the world. Last 2013 1 cent USA coin, where everyday pocket change can turn into life-changing fortunes. And today, we are going to explore a truly fascinating case that proves once again that even the smallest and most modern of coins can carry a story so unique, so remarkable, and so extraordinary that it transforms its value from just a single cent to millions of dollars. And the coin we are focusing on today is none other than the 2013 Lincoln 1 cent, a coin that in its ordinary form was produced by the billions at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints as a simple copper-plated zinc coin weighing 2.5 grams, a coin that most people never give a second thought to, a coin so common that people often dismiss it, toss it into jars, leave it in their car cup holders, or simply ignore it. Yet against all odds, one of these coins turned out to be so unusual and so filled with minting mistakes that it is now valued at an astonishing $6 million, a number that might sound insane at first glance but which becomes perfectly reasonable once you begin to understand the errors, the historical context, and the uniqueness that set this particular coin apart from the billions of its siblings. And as we break down the details today, you'll see why collectors, investors, and experts alike consider this 2013 penny one of the greatest modern rarities in American coinage. So let's start with the basics, because 2013 was a year that marked the continuation of the shield reverse design that had been introduced in 2010. To replace the Lincoln Memorial reverse, a design meant to symbolize unity and the preservation of the United States as one nation. And as such, billions of these coins were struck with highly advanced minting technology that was supposed to eliminate the possibility of major mistakes. And yet this very expectation of perfection is part of what makes modern era coins so valuable. Because when mistakes do occur, they are not only rare but often spectacular. And in this case, the 2013 cent-in question shows a dramatic combination of minting errors that make it unlike any other known coin. Starting with the most visible feature, an extreme double die obverse where the doubling is so bold that you can see it clearly with the naked eye on the date 2013, the motto "I in God we trust," and the word liberty. And this kind of strong hub doubling had not been seen in years because of technological improvements at the mint, making it an absolute standout in the modern series, and collectors of double die coins immediately recognize how valuable such a piece can be. But that is only the beginning, because when experts examined the coin further, they discovered it had been struck off-center by nearly 30%, with Lincoln's portrait shifted significantly to the left and part of the design cut off, leaving a blank crescent of planchette visible on the right. And what makes this particularly valuable is that the date and mint mark remain fully visible, because off-center coins that lose the date are far less desirable, while those with a complete readable date are incredibly valuable. And when you combine that with the dramatic doubling, you have an era coin that is already worth an incredible sum. But the surprises continued, because this coin was also found to have been struck on a transitional wrong planchette weighing around 3.1 grams instead of the expected 2.5 grams, strongly suggesting that an older copper blank somehow ended up in the minting press decades after copper was discontinued in 1982, which in itself is virtually impossible but not unheard of. And such wrong planchette errors are always among the most valuable types of mint mistakes, because they tie together different eras of coinage and make the piece a true numismatic anomaly. But this coin did not stop there, because under magnification it also showed evidence of a die clash where the obverse and reverse dies had struck each other without a planchette between them, leaving ghostly impressions of the shield design faintly visible on Lincoln's portrait. And this eerie overlapping of designs makes the coin visually stunning and highly collectible. And to top it all off, the reverse of the coin showed clear signs of a struck-through error, with grease and debris having clogged the die and caused parts of the shield's lines and scrollwork to appear smeared, missing, or incomplete, making the reverse design look distorted and one of a kind. And when you step back and add it all up, you have a coin that combines an extreme double die, an off-center strike, a wrong planchette, a die clash, and a struck-through error all in one. And the odds of all these things happening to the same coin are beyond astronomical, which is why experts believe this 2013 cent may be unique in the entire history of the series. And uniqueness is the ultimate driver of value in numismatics, because when wealthy collectors and investors realize that only one example exists and that they have the chance to own it, the competition drives the price to unimaginable levels, which is exactly how this coin came to be valued at $6 million. And while to the average person that might sound ridiculous for a penny, when you look at the broader world of collectibles it makes perfect sense, because paintings sell for hundreds of millions, cars sell for tens of millions, rare sports cards and memorabilia reach sky-high prices, all because they are unique and highly desired. And this 2013 cent is no different. It is a piece of American history that tells a story not of perfection but of imperfection, a story of how even in an age of cutting-edge technology and precision, the human and mechanical systems of the mint can still produce something unexpected, something flawed, something miraculous, and those flaws are what make it priceless. And beyond its financial value, the coin has inspired countless collectors and ordinary people alike to search their change, to hunt through rolls of pennies, to look more closely at the ordinary coins they once ignored, because this discovery proved that even in the 21st century treasures can still be hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with a keen eye to notice them. And that sense of possibility fuels the passion of the hobby, keeping it alive for new generations. Because as long as coins are minted, there will always be the chance for error, and as long as errors happen, there will always be the chance for extraordinary discoveries. And the story of this $6 million penny is more than just about money. It is about hope, inspiration, history, and the idea that greatness can emerge from the most ordinary of places. And whether this coin remains in a private collection, goes on display in a museum, or resurfaces at a future auction where it may fetch an even higher price, its legend is already secure, because it represents the magic of numismatics, the joy of discovery, and the value of rarity, and it reminds us that sometimes the smallest coin can carry the biggest story, a story that will continue to inspire coin hunters and collectors around the world for years to come.